Welcome to Tuesday Live. I am Omini Odan. On the 29th of May, precisely Friday, marked 5 years of the President Muhammadu Buhari administration adjudged to have made productive impact in almost all facets of Nigeria. Tonight, we will look at gains, challenges and projections of the Buhari administration from different dimensions. First, the Executive Order 10 of 2020 on financial autonomy signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari for state legislature and the judiciary. There are wide commendations for the Executive Order 10, which makes it mandatory for state governments in giving priority to allocation of the judiciary and legislative arms of government. Their annual budgets. Are there doubts to the uniqueness of the executive order, especially with its implementation that will strengthen the state legislature and judiciary and make them more independent and accountable in line with the tenets of democracy as enshrined by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended? What more to expect with the executive order? Answers and more after this background report by Benny Adams.
Many years, the outcry for financial autonomy by the legislature, the judiciary, and the local government councils filled the air, owing to the fact that about 48% of the national cake shared every month goes to the states and local councils, with the governors collecting on behalf of all and disbursing as deemed fit. With these financial leverage, some state governors take control over the other arms of government.
In most of the states in this country today, what you call houses of assembly are mere appendages of the state government. And the governors are directly in charge. They determine who the principal officers will be. They determine their tenure and their whims and caprices, even against the express will of majority of the members of the legislature who should constitute that membership. So this overbearing influence has always been there. And if you look at the flip side of it is the fact that this legislature, even when they decide not to, I've seen instances where salaries of certain legislators have been withheld for years for daring to stand the executive in the face.
In furtherance to its determination towards deepening Nigeria's democratic institutions, the present administration had on June 8, 2018, assented to the fourth alteration bill of the 1999 Constitution as amended, thereby granting financial autonomy to the state judiciaries and houses of assembly.
Upon this signature, this grants full autonomy now to the judiciary at the state level and the houses of assembly.
And to ensure implementation, President Muhammadu Buhari inaugurated a presidential committee with a 3-month period to conclude the assignment.
The legislature, being the closest arm of government to the people, and the judiciary, as hope of the common man, must both be seen to be sufficiently independent to perform their respective constitutional roles without any interference, let or hindrance.
Legislative and judicial autonomy must prevail.
While implementation took a snail speed dimension, 11 months down the line, President Buhari renews commitment with the signing of the Executive Order 10 of 2020, a gesture observers applaud.
When you have a financially autonomous legislature that can be able to appropriate money to various committees of the State Assembly to ensure that oversight is being carried out for the deliverance of public goods, in my own view, the president has salvaged democracy.
For you to have a speedy disposition of justice, you need to have a functional court system. You need to have a court system, a judiciary that is well funded, a judiciary that is well trained. You don't wait for the governor to approve to tell you the amount he has available for your training before you send the judges for training, or if you want to buy equipment. Now we're talking about development in technology in terms of virtual hearing of court process. You need to invest more in technology.
The Accountant General of the Federation shall, by this order and others which may be issued by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, authorize the deduction from source, money allocated to states from FAC in the case any state fails to release allocation meant for the state legislature and state judiciary in line with the financial autonomy granted by Section 121, subsection 3 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, with a committee to determine and ascertain the revenue profile of the state with a view to making budget for each arm of the state government and other details. Guests on Tuesday Live will be discussing shortly.
The background report by Benny Adams sets the tone for the program tonight, and it's Tuesday Live. At some point, our phone lines will be open when we're through to you. Please, in raising your questions and making your concerns, please turn down the volume of the television set and we'll listen to you and address your concerns. Also, you can be part of the conversation tonight through our Twitter handle as Tuesday Live NTA. Well, my guests, in keeping with the social distancing policy, we are doing 2 studios in Abuja and via Skype or Zoom from Lagos. In the studio with me tonight, I have a lawyer, unionist, tutor, orator, writer, and politician, Kayode Ajulo. Good to have you on Tuesday Live tonight.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful.
And from the News 24 studio in Abuja too, we have Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Itainang. Senator Itainang is also the Secretary of the Presidential Implementation Committee of Executive Order 10. Good to have you on the program tonight.
And thank you.
Right Honorable Mudashiru Ajayi Obasa, Speaker, Lagos State House of Assembly. He is the Chairman, Conference of Speakers of State Assemblies in Nigeria. He was a member of the Implementation Committee on Financial Autonomy of State Legislatures and Judiciary set up by President Muhammadu Buhari. Good to have you on the program tonight.
Evening.
Okay. Gentlemen, we'll begin, but let me take my first shot to the News 24 studio with Senator Itainang. You are the Secretary of the Presidential Implementation Committee of this order. It takes effect from the 20th of May 2020. Where are we with it? Have you taken off?
Let me, before I answer your question, congratulate His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, because this is one action that has attracted 99.9% commendation from all Nigerians across all walks of life, from the Nigerian Bar Association, civil society, the Nigerian Labour Congress, the judiciary, the legislature at the federal and state level, and the international community. This is one action that has been commended as one of the biggest gifts that President Muhammadu Buhari has given to democracy. Congratulations, Mr. President. Now, where we are now is that the executive order has been issued, signaling implementation. The committee, at the instance of the learned Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Malami Abubakar SAN, will be meeting in the next very few hours to to take further steps on the field or boots on the ground. But so we are consulting, but we are ready because the executive order has clearly stated what we are to do and what is to be done. But let me assure that in doing what we are to do, we will be very conciliatory and amicable with their excellencies, the governors. Let me also assure that this is not a big stick on the executive. This is just a reminder to the executive and at the state level that there is one government at the state level, just as there is one government at the federal level. There is the executive arm of government, there is the legislative arm of government, there is the judicial arm of government. That 3 of them make what is called the government. And that what Mr. President has done in issuing this executive order is simply to say, please do unto the legislature in the state houses, the legislature at the state levels, and the judiciary at the federal level, the way I treat, the way at the federal level, I, as president and head of the executive and head of government, treat the judiciary at the federal level, the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, Federal High Court, National Industrial Court, and all the courts down the line. The way I treat the National Assembly, Senate, House of Representatives, and all their parastatals, exactly the way. So please, if there is anything in the executive order that their excellencies, the respected governors, our brothers, see that it is contrary and different, and I repeat, contrary and different from what is happening at the federal level, please let them draw attention. I want to give assurance on behalf of the chairman and members of the committee, all the members of the committee, that the implementation as has commenced is going to come seamlessly and nobody will be injured. No arm of government will be injured.
Thanks for your opening thoughts. Now, Ajulo, reading through reactions from Nigerians for and against constitutionality of Executive Order 10, can you update us?
Well, like what the speaker, that's the Honorable Endan said, this would be, this is my opinion, that whatsoever the president has done, this singularly has shown the kind of president we have in Nigeria. And if there's anything that anybody can claim to have contributed to democracy in Nigeria, to separation of power, to independence of all the arms of government, organs of government, by stroke of pen, the president has scored an asterisk. And like what he said too, I wonder and I still expect and I still want to see anybody that will come to say I have anything against it, except if we can say on the altar of selfish interest. It is expected that some people, particularly when you notice that what we are talking of is power, they may have one or two issues, and we know that, and Nigeria may seem to understand that. But when you talk of the constitutionality of the executive order has been there for as long as democracy has been. From the time you look at the United States of America, where we are copying ours from the time of George Washington, this is what he has been doing. And it may interest you that Emancipation Proclamation come as a result of executive order. And that is why the Abraham Lincoln signed the executive order to say that the issue of slavery has to be totally abolished. And when you ask where can we say Abraham Lincoln derived its power, then it can come from the Constitution that proclaimed that by American Constitution all men are equal. But that equality has not been put to play because there is slavery. But because of that executive order, which everybody call Emancipation Proclamation, by that stroke of pen, Abraham Lincoln made slavery a thing of the past in America. And that is the same thing President Muhammadu Buhari has done. Because for so long, since 1999, when we have our constitution, the separation of power, the independence, the financial autonomy of each arms of government, organs of government, has been there. But unfortunately, because when you looked at it very well, the constitution, all the participants of this constitution, they derive their power. For you to stand for election, to be governor, to be legislator, to even be a judge, it has been provided in the constitution. And part of it is, when it comes to financial autonomy, for you to be independent, has been there. But unfortunately, since 1990 date, there has been some issue. But the president, like I said, I'm not always his fan, but on this I stand by him, and I'm sure this is the way majority. He mentioned 999. I want to believe 100% of Nigeria, they are with him. Those that may raise anything is maybe they just will not want to negotiate that this power should not be given.
So will you say the time wasted all this period is worth a while?
I won't say that, but unfortunately we can't get that one back. But the president has done what is needful. And when you talked about the constitutionality of what he has done, there are a lot of predatory authority, like this Elephant Group PLC against the National Security Advisor.
Come to that. Let's not exhaust it. Well, let's go to Lagos, where the speaker is joining us. And I want to just go straight. You were a member of the committee that came up with the report which has activated this executive order. Are you fulfilled? Is it a dream come true? And are you excited that very soon you will be presiding over financial autonomy for the legislature in Lagos State, same for other states of the Federation?
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing me on this program. I want to tell you that we are very happy with the speakers, and let me also use this medium to thank Mr. President as well, and those gentlemen that contributed a lot to the success of this executive order 10. Well, as you observe, Lagos has been enjoying this privilege for some time. I mean, since Ashwadi Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who actually signed what we call autonomy bill in Lagos. But we are doing this to give support to other states, the houses of assembly in Nigeria, and through them to other members of the houses of assembly, with the speakers, those who have contributed a lot to ensure that at the end of the day we gain this. But the importance of this executive order actually has to do with development of democracy in our country and strengthening our democratic institutions. Well, it goes beyond the speakers and the members of various houses of assembly in Nigeria. But how are we going to develop democracy in Nigeria? And how are we going to bring benefit of democracy to our people in Nigeria? This is the most important thing. And as you straight to your question, we are very happy about this, but I just want to state this clearly, that it is not particularly about the members of House of Assembly, about the speakers, but about our country, about developing democracy in Nigeria. This is a major concern for all of us. And let me also state this clearly, that we, speakers, we have no intention of confronting the executive, the governors. We have no intention of challenging them. But all we are saying is that there must be respect for the constitution of this country. It is clearly stated in the constitution what separation of power is all about. So observing that and implementing it should not be a challenge to any arm of government. It's clearly stated in the constitution that each arm has functions to perform: the executive, legislature, and judiciary. So that must be respected by all head of arm of the government, as clearly stated in the constitution. So we are saying we are happy, but this is not about us. It's all about people. It's all about democratic institutions. It's all about democracy in our country, and it's all about development in our country.
Okay, now, if you're just joining us, our focus tonight is on Executive Order 10 on one plank. Part 2 of the program will be on 5 years of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration in Nigeria. Now, we'll have a couple of reports dotting the landscape of the country. When we come back with the report, we'll sustain the conversation. First, we'll be taking the report from Ibadan.
The three arms of government, as enshrined in the Section 121 subsection 3 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, are supposed to be independent of each other, but has not been the case. This, according to many observers, had been clogged in the wheel of progress of state judiciary and legislature. This supposed anomaly, according to many political analysts and stakeholders in the relevant arms, has been addressed through the signing of the Executive Order 10. The President says his administration will continue to do everything to strengthen the principle and practice of democracy and democratic governance in the country.
The autonomy will enhance the performance of the judiciary, no doubt about that, because a lot of things needs to be done, which without that autonomy and independence are impeded. Independence in terms of performance of our duty, so that the executive will not come and say, this is what I want by way of a decision, and that is what that judge should do.
The new law seeks to protect the state judiciary and the legislature from the deprivation of funds by the executive.
Our democracy is beginning to show the coloration of through separation of power. As such, we may begin to see a better legislative arm of government at the state level, and we may begin to see a better judiciary at the state level competing with what we have at the national level.
By every arm of the government will be able to have autonomy. When they have autonomy, to me, it's a freedom to work. And we give people freedom to work. You have actually given him the power to actually think out of the box.
The two arms were therefore admonished to let the autonomy bear on their statutory functions.
Accountability and transparency. That is our advice to them, to ensure that they maximize this opportunity, not to see it as an opportunity to cut away funds, but to make judicious use of whatever fund that is allocated to them and ensure it tells on democracy that we have embraced in Nigeria.
The signing of the Order 10 is in accordance with the power vested on President Buhari under Section 5 of the 1999 Constitution as amended.
Let's take a listen to this report from Kaduna.
The legislature, being the closest arm of government to the people, and the judiciary, as hope of the common man, must both be seen to be sufficiently independent to perform their respective constitutional roles without any interference, let or hindrance.
The order follows the report of a presidential committee set up to map out strategies for the implementation of the financial autonomy in accordance with the Section 121, subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. With this development, funds meant for the state legislatures and judiciaries will be credited directly from source to their respective accounts, a development which some analysts believe will make the affected arms of government more vibrant and efficient in carrying out their constitutional roles.
It's quite remarkable, revolutionary, commendable that President Buhari is bold enough to say, let's apply the spirit and content of the Constitution, that what is good for federal is good for the state.
Because of the non-financial autonomy of the State House of Assembly and the state judiciary, it makes it difficult for the state judiciary and the State House of Assembly to operate independent of the executive. And that is really giving them headache. They are not performing the way they are supposed to perform because they are afraid if they go beyond their bounds, they are not likely to get the financial support that they need to work, and they cannot work without finances.
Reacting to perception in some quarters that financial autonomy for the state legislatures and judiciary could create room for possible misappropriation of funds, analysts say upholding the tenets of democracy is sacrosanct.
Why should somebody hold your money when the money is supposed to be in your pocket? There's no need for that. I don't think that argument is tenable. Let the governors, through the Accountant General of the Federation, allow the judiciary in the states and the legislature in the states to hold and disburse and use their money the way the law allows it.
Nigerians like these analysts are hopeful that the full implementation of the Executive Order Number 10 will guarantee financial independence to the two arms of government, which are key to democracy and service delivery.
Thank you for the report, Senator Itainang. Listening to the reports from Ibadan and Kaduna, what will you make of the structure in place to ensure smooth implementation of this executive order? Let's say for the judiciary, it's already in place. Everything about implementing Executive Order 10 is highly procedural. Do we have the structure in place at the state levels to ensure a smooth implementation? For instance, at the national level, we have the National Assembly Service Commission, which is in place. How many states have State Assembly Service Commission. If this is not in place, how will this work?
Thank you very much. I want to say that, to my knowledge, every state has a State House of Assembly Service Commission. That's number one. And they also have a clerk of the House of Assembly. That is in the Constitution also. And there is a structure. The State Assembly Service Commission are part of the budgeting process. Okay, in the recommendation of the committee, which has been accepted by Mr. President, and part of the order is that there'll be a State Judiciary Budget Committee. The State Judiciary Budget Committee will make input as to what the budget of the judiciary will be. And then the House of Assembly will also have its own budget and will have it. And then they will all meet with the Commissioner for Finance, Accountant General of the states, and then the representative of each tier of the court. Let me emphasize that it is not only the High Court of the state, it is the High Court, Magistrate Court, and Customary Court. They will meet, prepare their budget, and then go together and submit it, and they will know what each arm of government needs. And the executive will also present what they need. Together, all of it will be added together, submitted, and the governor will take it, go and present to the House of Assembly, lay it together. The budget of the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Lay it on the table of the House of Assembly, and it will be considered and passed. When it is passed, under the law, we also have a model law, and I want to say that Bayelsa State, let me commend His Excellency the Governor Dixon, the Emeritus Governor of Bayelsa. He had signed a model, or one of the states that signed. Adamawa State also, under Bindo, also signed. Now, when it is assented to, each arm of government gets their money when it arrives from the federation account, in addition to internally generated revenue. Now, let me also emphasize one thing, that under the executive order His Excellency Mr. President has issued, there has to be 3 years extraordinary allocation to the judiciary to develop. If you go to see the state of courts in the states, you will weep. If you go to the Federal High Court in a state, it looks as if you are in Abuja. When you go to the State High Court, you will almost weep. You go to the Magistrate Court, you may see rodents around together with exhibits, the State Magistrate Court and Customary Court and District Court, because they don't have their money. So that is why Mr. President has said, let there be extraordinary allocation for capital development of the court in the first 3 years of the implementation of the order. What this emphasizes is that if you come to the federal level, you'll see the standard of I'm sure Nigerians see the standard of the Court of Appeal when you go, and even when the election petition, presidential elections were going on, and it was issued live, it was aired live. You saw the standard of the Court of Appeal. You see the standard of the Supreme Court. You see the standard of the Federal High Court, National Industrial Court, even the Magistrate Court, the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory. Now, you don't have 20% of that in the state. So that is what Mr. President has said, look, give extraordinary attention to this. For the Houses of Assembly, you can only have one House of Assembly. And the other matters are provided for. Any of them that was not well developed, you will have them developed, because the Houses of Assembly had a political tool they have, which perhaps enable them sometimes to get attention more of the governors. Now, I remember in my practice for years that I have seen judges. I've seen a judge who was to go on medical attention at airport in Calabar. He had to be returned because he was called and told that the governor has not approved the file. He had to return. Another one was to go for a conference. They just told him that the governor has not approved his trip. How? Therefore, what Mr. President has done is that cannot and has not happened at the federal level at all. His Excellency, Mr. President, from President Obasanjo, President Yaradua, President Jonathan, to President Obasanjo, His Excellency, to President Yaradua, to President Buhari, none of them has treated the judiciary this way. But it is only President Buhari that has taken it a bolder step, 100% far, by saying, look, you were saying that the law is there, the constitution has been amended, I don't have the procedure for implementation. I now set out the procedure for implementation. What I'm saying is that Mr. President, I repeat again, has not made a new law, nothing different. It is simply giving the procedure, live, verve, blood, and artery to the section 231, subsection 3 of the Constitution as amended. So all the structures are there, and there is nothing that is going to hamper the implementation at that level. All we will be doing as the midwife will be very, very gently, diplomatically, and very friendly and brotherly with their excellencies, the governors.
Okay, Ajulu, given the analysis Senator Tanega has given, let's look at the angle of financial discipline. If you follow history, you know very well that part of the reason why governors usurped the functions of local governments at the state level was in the area of financial misappropriations. Now, what do you make of financial discipline? For instance, a speaker of a state house of assembly or a judge who is supposed to chair the implementation of this money or disbursement of this money, present over huge sums of money. What do you make about financial discipline?
Well, let me quickly say that I wouldn't like to buy the argument that because of the fear of financial discipline.
Not fear, but
yes,
in case of misappropriation.
Yes, I don't think it would be, because there's always a way, the procedure that must be done. Particularly, one thing you should know is this: most of all this, if we are talking of the House of Assemblies, they have their clerk, which seem to be the chief administrative officer, that will even be the main controller and when it comes to endorsing such. And even in the state judiciary, you have the chief registrar, who is administrative officer. They are the chief administrative officer, and I believe these people have been so trained for you to be clerk or for you to be the chief registrar. And that is why you see that in each of the states assembly commission, they do have, for you, there is a provision of how such clerk will be appointed, and these are re-administrators. So we should not use that as an excuse to do what is needful, particularly what is constitutional. It is constitutional. The law is so clear. Section 121, subsection 3 talks about where the money will come from, that any money that's entered that's within the consolidated revenue fund shall be given to, if it is the house of, if it's an assembly, shall be given to the head of that assembly. If it's judiciary, shall be given to judiciary. And I believe, and I'm sure, there's mechanism of how this will be disbursed, this will be used. So we should not use that excuse. I know some people, particularly governors, always look for excuse, because I remember I was in one forum some times ago. Somebody raised that issue, said, Kayode, do you know that our laws are not trained to disburse money? They are not administrators. I say, well, how dare you say that? When they have administrators, when they have chief accounting officer in all those things. And I believe we need to say this thing clear. This is constitutional provision. Any deviation from it is more or less a violation of that constitution. And when it comes to organs of government, I say this, and I do say this, to me, I see more as treasonable offense that even should be, one way or the other, an impeachment offense for any governor that tried to subvert that provision. It is so clear. The Nigerian Constitution talk of financial autonomy. That should be as it is today. We thank the President Muhammadu Buhari for even having voice and use this as a power to add to that. then that is what should be. Any deviation, I wish the Assembly, the Speaker of Lagos State is saying that, is hearing this, they need to know what to do. The needle should be done immediately. Recently, you see, when it comes to impeachment, they would be saying they are accusing the governor, deputy governor for rearing goat or fowl. That is not what should be. The real offense is already has been there for long, but nobody has been doing that. But I believe with this, everybody will know where.
Because I asked this question with a concern, if we follow public opinion, the worry is if this happens, at the end of the month, money is meant for salaries, money is meant for overheads, they divert them for other things in the name of autonomy or whatever. How do we handle that?
That one, I believe, is a joint agreement, because, like I said, the procedures are already there. Each of these arms of government, I don't think to not be ready. There must be a check and balances. And mind you, in each of those organs, they have their own auditors. They have their own accountant. They have their own chief administrative officer. Somebody must be responsible for that. And I believe all of them should be up to their duties.
Okay. Using Lagos State as an example for the takeoff of this, how ready is the Lagos State House of Assembly for the implementation of the Executive Order 10 in Lagos, when we return after this report from Enugu?
The law, which is to be implemented in compliance with Section 12, subsection 13 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, respondents say is a round peg in a round hole.
If you allow the institutions that practice democracy to practice it without hindrance, and therefore when you talk about financial autonomy, you are talking about one of the major ingredients that will make these institutions stand on their own and do what they are expected to do to advance democracy in Nigeria. I think that's a beautiful step in the right direction.
That explains the necessity of each of the three organs of government to be autonomous to each other. And that will be in tandem with the constitutional democracy which Nigeria oppresses.
In some other quarters, however, there is a belief that Nigeria is not yet financially ripe for such autonomy of state legislatures and judiciary.
It is a welcome development, but another question is, despite this executive order term, would they really grant them that autonomy without influencing them from behind?
Towing the line of government that such autonomy will strengthen the institutions at the state tier of government and make them more independent and accountable according to the tenets of democracy. Some political analysts, however, insist on some level of checks and balances to guide against abuse.
If you allow it to just remain like that, a lot of the governors may not be given to implementing it. So in furtherance of that power conferred on the president by that Section 5 for the maintenance, the executive order became a very, very beautiful tool.
Some of the ingredients of the Presidential Order 10 includes allocation of appropriation funds to the state legislatures and state judiciary in the state appropriation laws in the annual budget, authorization of deduction from source of the Federation accounts, allocation to states by the Accountant General of the Federation, among others.
Thank you so much. And straight to Lagos, where the Speaker is joining us via Zoom. Mr. Speaker, I asked you earlier, you expressed excitement. The question now is, are the structures in place for this to take off fully in Lagos? Looking at what Ajulo said and Senator Itanen said.
Yeah, very well. As I said earlier on, we have been practicing this for some time in Lagos, and the structures are there, well established. So I don't think there's need for us to entertain any fear in respect of how would such fund be handled. Like in Lagos, we have Lagos State House of Assembly Service Commission. We have what we call Fund Management Committee. And as rightly observed by, Mr. Ajulo, We have the clerk of the house, who is the head of the administration. And we also have other staff. You have the auditors, you have the accountants, you have procurement, you have all this in place. So I think the structures are there already well established. So there is no room for us to entertain anything. What we should do is to allow us to put this into practice. Well, fine, there might be, kind of shortfall in utilizing the fund as time goes on, but we will learn how to correct and adjust it accordingly. But I can't say the executive are perfect in the way and manner they be handling fund of the state. But that does not mean we have to condemn them. So the same thing goes for other arms of government. We must allow them to come up with their own ideas as being enshrined in the Constitution and other states' law. So this will give them ample opportunity to correct themselves where they have gotten it wrong. So what we are saying is that when you have service commission, which will be in charge of the promotion, query and other things of the staffs of the House of Assembly. You have the procurement department, which we ensure that every approval or contract, whatever it is, follow due process, and it has to pass through the auditor's office and the accountant. So this shows that definitely we will comply with all the established rules and laws, but saying because of what will happen or the manner they will handle the fund, then there should be fair. I don't think that is right, because you cannot name unborn child. You have to allow the child to be given birth to before start thinking of the name, according to us in this part of the world. So all I'm saying in essence is that we have all it takes to handle this fund perfectly. I said we have been doing this in Lagos for the last past 10 years. We have been on autonomy in Lagos State, though on running costs only, but of recent we have joined the capital aspect of it. And there was also concern raised by the governor about the capital project. What we are saying, we are not saying we are going to the main states to construct roads, to construct bridges. What we are saying, whatever structure that has to do with the parliament, we talk about their buildings, we talk about the role within the complex, you talk about the furniture, you talk about the vehicles, you talk about the computers and other things. These are things that are useful within the complex of the parliament. They should be given to the parliament to handle it perfectly, because subjecting such to the control of the executive will definitely deprive the parliament the autonomy we are talking about. So I think we have all the structures in place. So it is for the executive to allow the parliament to put this into practice. So as time goes on, wherever we discover that there's shortcomings, people will learn. I mean, the parliament will learn on how to manage it. So we should not, because of fear, to say the executive order should be, the parliament should be denied of the benefit of that executive. So I want to say all other states will also establish the same structure. I know some of the state houses of assembly have established their own service commission, and they also have the fund management committee. So if we have others who have not done so, they will do that. In short while, we have the laws already. We can always share the laws, which we have done, and it was submitted to Mr. President last time when we visited, and also to the Governors Forum. We have submitted the copies of what we all agreed on at the Speakers Forum meeting. So I don't think there's reason for us to entertain anything. The structures are there, and we can easily comply with what the law says in terms of incurring expenditure.
Right, Honorable Mudashiru, Speaker, Lagos State House of Assembly. Thanks so much for your line of thought on Tuesday Live tonight.
I can't get that. Can you?
I'm saying thank you so much for being part of the program tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
really
bye-bye.
Appreciate it.
And back in Abuja, Julie, you heard what the Speaker, Lagos State House of Assembly said. They are ready. But if Lagos is ready, are other states ready?
I want to believe that they are ready. I want to believe that for anybody to stand for election, to be elected to represent his people, and particularly with this constitution, knowing fully well that there will be financial autonomy, and apart from that, with the fundamentals, the indices, and the structure already in that arms of government, I believe they are ready. He mentioned the issue of clerk, and I'm sure that in both in the judiciary, the legislative houses, and the executive, they have their procurement. This to be the same procurement act, procurement law that we govern whatsoever money that will be disbursed. And again, the Nigerian financial law, that will be part of it. So I don't think we should exercise.
Well, if we had all the time, I want to take you on the debacle of section 90, 92, 176, and 180 of the Constitution, but I won't go there. Now, what does the law say, as much as we have excitement in the air for maybe a head of legislature, head of judiciary, who is in total violation of this act? What does the law say?
As God will have it, even that will make it more.
Because excitement could
even there will be
bring anxiety.
There will be sanity, in the sense that we have to know that the head of these two arms of government, there is no immunity for any criminal or whatsoever against them. So that means that they should have it at the back of their mind that any mistake, anything done, the arms of the law will be ready to have it on them. Unlike where we have the chief executive of the state as the governor, who has immunity, and even despite the immunity, we can see what have been happening. So that one is there. And apart from that, like I said, the law, both financial law, when it comes to auditing, accounting, or even including procurement, will be part of what will be used to ensure that there's transparency and the money decide to go to where it's supposed to be. So I don't think we need to exercise fear. As long as our law is they are in place, at the all material time will be used for anything. And that's the essence of law. The essence of law is to regulate, to guide human's conduct. And I don't think we need to exercise that. Anybody using that, I want to say, is more like a genuine argument to ensure that this, what the Constitution has provided, they will never get to the fruition.
Let me ask you another question differently. Last word before I sign you off on this segment. If you go to the headlines, social media, traditional media, print, and what have you, you hear lawyers differ on Executive Order 10. What's your position?
My position is so clear about this executive order. The executive order, like I said, going by the elephant, the matter, the case I mentioned earlier, and from the section 5, subsection 5.1 of Nigerian Constitution that's talked about executive power. It is part of the way Nigerian president, and mind you, this is the president of the federation. And in the case of Abuja State, Attorney General of Abuja State and Attorney General of Federation really talked about federal allocation and who has such control. Since the president has the overriding control, being the president of Federation, he has such power to make such order. Many people will tell you that he's being dictatorial. You have your own jurisdiction, which is federation. But the question is that where is federation? Both the Lagos, both the Ondo, all over that is his jurisdiction. And apart from that, the president is not making any new law. What the president is just trying to say is to invoke what the provision of the Constitution, particularly Section 3 of the 4th Amendment, that talks about that any money accruable to these two arms, to these arms of government, should be given to their heads. It is so clear. What the president is saying is, this is the position of the Constitution. I've sworn to uphold this Constitution to ensure that the Nigerian law is to the best interest of Nigerians and to all manners of men. I will uphold this law. It is part of that oath that he took to now say, this is the provision of the Constitution. I'm invoking it. President is not writing new law. He's not making new legal regime entirely. It's to say this is the position of the law. So be it. Like I said, the issue of emancipation, when the Abraham Lincoln choose to do that, he has the provision of the Constitution that talks that all men must be treated equal. Okay. And that's why I do that. And the president too is now liberating Nigerian democracy by invoking that provision of the Constitution to say there must be separation of power, there must be financial autonomy. If any lawyer choose to disagree, everybody they have their own.
Thank you so much, Kayode Ajula. I must say, I will hold you here, and I must thank you for your line of thoughts on this segment of the program.
I'm grateful.
Nice having you.
Thank you very much.
That's it on this segment of the program. We looked at Executive Order 10. Senator Itainan participated on this segment. He's also guest on the next leg of the program. So we are not done yet with him. Stay with us.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying tuned. On the second leg of the program, we'll take a look at 5 years of President Muhammadu Buhari's stewardship in Nigeria. Good governance is seen as a hallmark of democracy and translates to growth and advancement of the people. This many strongly believe in Nigerians have continued to enjoy, especially in the last 5 years, with achievements of the present administration. Top on the scorecard is infrastructure development, evident with massive road constructions, the railway, and ongoing work at the Second Niger Bridge and other abandoned projects. The revamped agricultural sector with its value chain that halted importation and saved the nation's millions of dollars is another area of progress by the present administration. Event watchers say people cannot forget in a hurry, implementable policies and programs that helped in bringing Nigeria out of economic recession. Applauded by international bodies, more areas for achievements are with the social investment programs and intensified efforts in taking 100 million Nigerians out of poverty over the next 10 years. There are much more gains with reforms in education, healthcare and water sanitation, the fight against corruption and insecurity not left out. It is said that the taste of the pudding lies in the eating, and more so, pictures do not lie. Tonight, we'll bring you reports on developmental strides from different states of the Federation after this background report put together by Joshua Ojito.
Available statistics shows that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has made productive impact in almost all facets of Nigerian life. The three umbrella areas on which government based its intervention agenda are security, reviving the economy with particular emphasis on job creation, especially for youth, and fighting corruption. In the area of security, government has taken the battle to the insurgents and criminals, and they are being extinguished by the day and very close to complete extermination. Similarly, the economy, which was long dependent on a monoproduct, petroleum, is being retooled, refocused with diversification as a task that must be accomplished. Agriculture has been given a boost. Manufacturing got a shot in the arm, and solid minerals are contributing a large chunk to the gross domestic product, GDP. The country is very close to food security, with most of the grains no longer imported.
It is important for us to appreciate a government that brings about policies that are productive, that are progressive, that are positive, that are proactive.
On the war against corruption, there have been aggressive fiscal reforms and plugging of leakages in such a way that seems to say, commit the crime, do the time.
Convictions have been had in that regard with respect to cyber crimes, corruption cases, and so on and so forth, have been on the high side. Forfeitures that have been made in this regime is also something of note.
On road and rail infrastructure, a lot has been achieved, with many projects completed, while others are at various stages of completion.
We are very happy, especially in the administration of Muhammad Buhari, who has come and set a project here, this federal housing estate. It has bring many things for us. Developmental effort, especially that even the power KVH, who has been going to be established at our area, will bring people from other communities to set up here, who will live here and bring the economy and other social development too.
Power, aviation, health and education sectors, among others, received adequate attention by government in the last 5 years. In Abuja, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
That report sets the tone for the takeoff of the second leg of the program, which is 5 years of stewardship of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration in Nigeria. Our phone lines are still open. At some point, we'll get across to you. And when we are through to you, please turn down the volume of your television set to make your concerns or raise your questions. Also, you can still be part of the conversation tonight through our Twitter handle at Tuesday Live NTA. I have here with me former minority leader, House of Representatives, and an APC chieftain, Farouk Adamu Aliyu. Welcome to the program.
Good evening.
Also with me from the NTA News 24 studio is Senator Eta Enang. Senator Eta Enang is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs and currently the Secretary of the Presidential Implementation Committee of Executive Order 10. Good to have you still on the program.
Thank you very much and thank you.
Plus via Zoom is Jide Ojo. Jide Ojo is a public affairs analyst. Welcome to Tuesday Live.
Thanks for having me. Good evening, Nigerians.
Okay, let me begin from the rear. Jide Ojo, staying with you. What's your opening thoughts regarding your assessment of President Muhammadu Buhari's 5 years of stewardship in Nigeria?
The president, first and foremost, I want to congratulate him on his 5th anniversary of being a civilian president. As I've said in other platforms, he's a man of destiny, considering how God has been very kind to him. He's been everything a man can wish for in terms of public service. He's been former head of state, former chairman of Petroleum Trust Fund, former minister, and now, after 3 attempts, on the 4th count, he was elected president of Nigeria in 2015. As that background that I've said, the president has, done his own bit in terms of some areas of governance, top of which is this 3-point agenda: economy, security, and anti-corruption. And each of these are not mutually exclusive, they are actually intertwined. Because when you talk about economy, for instance, a component of the economy can also link to issues around anti-corruption. So when you look at even the economy, it's a huge area. For instance, in 2017, the president initiated what is called Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, which is very quite ambitious, and through which Nigeria got out of recession in 2017, and therefore becoming the biggest economy in Africa. That is no mean feat. You also talked about social investment program, 500 billion as at December 2016, which has been sustained in the last 4 years. A lot of people have been pulled out of poverty. You have the Empower, where about 500,000 Nigerians have been engaged in teaching, in agriculture, in health services. You've also had conditional cash transfer, where a lot of elderly people, senior citizens have benefited from government largesse on monthly basis. You also look at how the government has stimulated the economy through the diversification. Today, we talk of Anchor Brewers Program, under which a lot of Nigerian farmers have been incentivized to engage in rice production. And as at the time of the setting in of COVID-19, Nigeria was almost self-sufficient in rice productions, thereby reducing our importation bill on food. And gradually we are inching towards food security. Then you look at issues around anti-corruption, and never even all African continents put together, all African countries put together, Nigeria has topped the list of countries who have been able to recover part of the stolen wealth from abroad. It is not like that in many countries, and that's why the African Union actually recognized that Nigerian president and conferred on him in 2017 or 2018, Africa, the champion of anti-corruption in Africa for a whole 1 year. And now you've discovered that anti-corruption agents like EFCC, there's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the Independent Corrupt Practices and other related offense commission, have been able to record more convictions and recovered more loot than any other previous administration. Facts do not lie. These are no mean achievements for any administration. Even in the area of security concern, yes, we have security challenges, elders farmers crashes, banditry in the northwest, issues around insurgency.
Okay, Jide, let me hold you there. I'll come back to you. We'll go into specific areas. I've taken your opening thoughts. We'll go into specific areas. I'll come back to you. Now, back in Abuja, in the studio, Farouk, well, when you look at birthday anniversaries, you hear swear on, and looking at the administration of President Muhammadu, he has done first term of 4 years, and it's in the first year of his second term, in total 5 years. Now, tying it to a construction site, is the bulldozer gaining traction or is losing traction?
Well, I think the bulldozer has gained so much traction that Nigerians can feel, can see, and can touch. Because if you look at how we started, look, no government can finish everything. No government can eliminate criminality. No government can do everything. But each government will come and do its own bit. And I assure you, this bulldozer that you're talking about came when there were so many trees at the site and moved quite a lot. Of course, challenges are there. I'm not saying that everything is squeaky clean, that we've done everything 100%. Are there areas that we need to improve? Yes. Do we have challenges? Yes. But sincerity of purpose. We came into tackle the corruption, economy, and everything that we promised to do. Let's take the corruption issue. From the year 20, when the last administration started, to date, say 10 years, let's say 10 years, if you look at the total seizures, the total amount, quantum of money collected or taken back from corrupt persons, over $1 trillion, naira worth of money. Out of that amount, about 800 to 900 billion was collected within the last 5 years of Muhammad Buhari. So you could see that, yes, fight against corruption is working. Also, it is in this same government that members of our party are convicted, because the fight against corruption knows no bound. It's about us. It's not about the president. It's not about APC. It's about us Nigerians. Now, when the other government came, they did their bit. Fine. Nigerians were not happy. And then we came, we were doing our bit. Nigerians got so happy to re-elect President Muhammad Buhari and APC to continue. Which means, yes, there are certain things that we are doing that is good. Do we have challenges? Yes, we do. In the area of security, we came in to fight Boko Haram. We did fight them to stand still, and we're still fighting them. Are there other areas of security challenges? Yes. I mean, some banditry and kidnapping that were not there before we came, are there now. But as I said, no government can eliminate criminality. Is this government doing enough? Yes. First of all, how do you do these things? It's not just the government that fights insecurity. There is also need for collaboration of the citizens. Are the citizens cooperating? Yes, they also are. They are. To some extent. To some extent, some citizens are not cooperating as well, because you find out that there are cases where some criminals will connive with citizens to commit mayhem, and they will not be revealed. So the government needs information. So in that aspect, our government needs to do more to tackle fiercely across the country these acts of criminality, to at least reduce them to barest minimum, because there are challenges in Katsina, challenges in Zamfara, challenges in Sokoto, in North Central, in some parts of Southeast as well. So I think this is where we need to look at it from our government perspective, to ensure that each and every one of us in this country come on board to help us, not help the government. Who is government? You and I are government. So all of us should come together to ensure that these acts of criminality are eliminated. Now, talking about the economy. Look, Nigeria has never had it so good and never had it so bad. Never had it so good, just like what our colleague said. Jide, exactly. We almost got out of, we almost got to the stage that we could feed ourselves with rice. Then COVID came due to no fault of nobody. Nobody. It's not Trump's fault. It's not Buhari's fault. It's not anybody's fault. But what do we do also as a nation to use that as, an opportunity? What do we do? That's why Mr. President called on the farmers that, please, we don't have money to import food. We don't have money to do other things. So we should come out to go to the farm. May God in his infinite mercy help us to have good rains this year, rains that will not cause havoc, so that we will grow more food. Also, as citizens, will take opportunity. Now that, look, Nigeria is over 200 million. So there is enough market for us to grow and sell and feed ourselves. Another area that we as the government need to look at is the health sector. This COVID has really exposed us as a nation that the country has not invested in health for a very long time. Now we'll live and die here together. So which means this government, and I'm sure You could see from the Presidential Task Force on COVID that, look, now the government is more than ever serious to take care of health issues, to make investment, so that when we get another pandemic, God forbid, or any crisis, we will be able to go to our hospitals and treat our citizens. And challenges are also to all of us. So such institutions, universities. You could see now how our universities and polytechnics are coming up with innovations, which before this time around, they were not doing anything. So I think there are also advantages of COVID and disadvantages. The advantages are all these things that we need to come.
Farouk, let me hold you there. I know besides the fact that you're a politician, you're not a farmer.
Absolutely.
When we come back to you, I'll be specific on you on the agricultural sector. Now to Senator Itanang. Senator Itanang, going through a vox pop of Nigerians, or you take content analysis of their assessment of Buhari's administration, looking at the female gender, the male gender across board, some say is not doing well. Naturally, you don't expect everybody to be happy about what the government is doing. And you expect some to say they are doing well, some say they're not doing well, and they are picking holes in certain areas. Now, you have been all along with this government, and now you're serving on a new platform, which is a new introduction by the government. Do you agree with this?
I would say that all Nigerians appreciate the leadership and presidency of President Muhammadu Buhari. It's only a few persons who do not know the difference between federal government, state government, and local government that sometimes say the government is not doing well. Sometimes they don't draw a difference, because a lot of people do not know that the local government receives money from the federation account, and it has responsibilities. But sometimes this money is kidnapped along the way, and it is not used. Now, a lot of people do not also credit the state government with responsibility, so that responsibilities that are state government responsibilities, local government responsibilities, are all heaped on President Muhammadu Buhari as if it were all federal government responsibilities. But, well, that is the joy of being a president, because federal, state, or local, they're citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Therefore, some of these things are misplaced, because when they want to, some don't know about the states. Some don't even believe, because some governors make it as a point of duty to pour condemnation on the federal government as if they're not a government. Now, just to divert attention, I want to say that in the area of agriculture, which my brother, we call him my brother cognate, a colleague in the House of Representatives, Farouk Aliyu, has stated, it is one of the greatest areas that President Buhari has scored great achievements. Prior to our coming in, one of the biggest businesses was importing rice. There was no ban, there was nothing. And when he came, he said, he brought out the list of things prohibited and said, look, we must feed ourselves. Up to when we had COVID, there were still some routes that people were smuggling food in. But from March 28 or thereabout, a lot of people were thinking that this country and Nigerians will cry that there will be no food, because they were thinking that without those routes of importation, there will be, we will definitely be revealed as having no food to feed our citizens. But God is with President Buhari and with this country, that earlier he had closed the boundaries. Earlier, he had notified the citizens as if he was aware that there would be COVID and this challenge. So everybody went back to the farm. He had established NISAL with the help of the central bank as full owners. He had established the Anchor Borrowers Program. He started the sectorial concentration on wheat, rice, maize, cassava, yam, cocoa, and all kinds of vegetables. He also started the section that they raised on livestock, chicken, fish, and all that, all departments properly given attention. And so during the period of that, we were all locked down, although it's being really released. Nigerians were not hungry. We did not have an emergency of saying, rush there and bring some food from that country. And of course, which country were you even able to get food, going to get food from? Because all of them were locked down. The international maritime sector was locked down. So even if a country has food to bring, they will not bring because their vessels are not selling. Even if a country had food to bring, they will not bring because they too do not know how long it will. And so Nigerians, under the leadership of President Buhari, is able to feed itself. And of course, I want to say that by my projection, this lockdown has actually locked people in. It didn't lock them. It was not. I used to say that we used to say lockdown is not a lockup. This lockdown was not a lockup. We were driven to concentrate in our farms. Again, one of the achievements of President Buhari is credibility of his person and his administration, that the international political community trusts him. The International Security Committee trusts him. The International Financial Committee trusts him. The International Diplomatic Community trusts him. And with this trust, everything he asks in terms of security, they will give him. They refuse to sell arms and certain security aircrafts to us. Under President Buhari, he was able to get it because the International Security Committee trusts him. Under the financial community, they say if it is President Buhari, we can give him any amount of loan to invest in the country. That is why when you see President Buhari requesting from the National Assembly that they should approve a loan, that we should obtain a loan to feed and service our economy, the House of Representatives and the Senate, bipartisan, will approve. I'm sure that if we take census, there has been no loan that Mr. President requests approval that the PDP or any other party opposes. If it is only somebody from outside that will just oppose, that will just bring out a small press release just to show that there is at least let it not be as if we keep quiet. But all their legislators, their senators and their members of the House will agree, because they will agree that it is in the interest of the country. And in this loan that we are taking, the president is taking because of the credibility of his personal name and the way he is applying it. Employment is created. The economy is activated. And the conditions are made known to every person. It is there on the website, the conditions of the loan and when we repay and what we are applying it for. Now, if you look at the infrastructure that we are investing in, the second Niger bridge, the power plant in Taraba, the power project in Taraba, then what we are beginning to invest on the east-west road, the investment from the China Exim window, investment on the railways, then the investment in agriculture. All these monies are able to come because of the personal credibility of President Muhammadu Buhari when the international community trusts him. In previous administrations, because of issues there was some suspicion, and when you ask for this money, it was not easy to come, or sometimes they just sprinkle a little to test you. Now, if you look, and let me also emphasize, because I heard some people complain that the president is taking too much loan. Please let me make it known, and like everybody knows, but sometimes they don't want to say it. These loans, some of them are for the state government. Kaduna has a request for loan. There are some from Lagos, I wish I'm correct. There are some from other states. But these states cannot borrow from the international financial community because loans and facilities of the nature are given to sovereigns, to sovereignties, to countries, to nation states. The states of the federation and their programs and projects cannot approach these financial institutions at the international level. Therefore, it is Nigeria that has to borrow to take on their behalf and give it to them, but they guarantee repayment. Therefore, it is not every loan that the president that has requested the National Assembly to approve that goes to for the president's use, for the president's project. And Mr. President, using the Debt Management Office, the Ministry of Finance, the budget and national planning, the other institutions, will make sure that the projects to be done by these loans are first costed, the houses of assembly of that state approves, and the resolution of that house of assembly now request, and so it is taken by the federal government and given to them. Again, there is this facility that is given to every country, most countries, that are challenged, but it's not every country that is challenged that is given. If the government of your state, of your country, when I refer to state here, I'm referring to nation states under international law. If your country is not known for financial prudence, and the leadership of your country does not have a cleansing record, it is the cleansing record of President Muhammadu Buhari that has been able to enable us attract and qualify for these facilities which are given to us at lower rates. Again, I want to say, please let me just go on this loan thing because a lot of people have misunderstood. Part of the loan that we took was loan that we took to repay we took at a lower interest rate to repay facilities to repay local debt through bonds which were running at higher rates because the interest on these facilities we took from the international institutions and the international market were lower. And these monies were returned, like the monies that were borrowed and given to the states in return for federal roads.
Let me hold you there. I'll come back to you shortly because we're going to specific areas. Now, in doing justice to this topic, we shall be taking some reports. We'll take this report from Aba.
Residents of Aba recalled that President Buhari came into office when Nigerians were desirous of change. 5 years on, the president has been able to sustain a credible outing in spite of the challenges of insecurity, global economic downturn, and the recent COVID-19 crisis. What interests residents of Aba most is the solar power project at Ariari International Market, which has ensured steady power supply, therefore impacting on the socio-economic well-being of the people. Also of interest to them is the Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway under rehabilitation, the social intervention programs, which include the school feeding initiative, and the Empower package, which have impacted on the lives of many Nigerians, especially the poor and the vulnerable group. Legal practitioners are also not losing sight of the executive orders, like the legislative and judiciary financial autonomy order, which has tended to further eliminate the nation's judiciary landscape. Residents acknowledge the daunting challenges of insecurity and the current fight against COVID-19 and are satisfied with the efforts of his administration in confronting them headlong.
Our next stop is Kano.
The 4 years of President Muhammadu Buhari and first year of his second tenure in power, the 374.5-kilometer rehabilitation work of Kano-Kaduna-Abuja Highway has reached appreciable percentage, which were before now in deplorable condition. The ongoing dualization of Kano-Katsina Phase 1 under Sukuk Intervention Project, Kano Western Bypass, and Kano Meduguri, all in Northwest Zone, are receiving utmost attention.
We thank God for the government. They are trying a lot. They should continue trying like this. Nigeria will be better.
And with Sukuk, the project is well funded. And for that reason, we have no reasons to delay the project because the funds are available.
In the same vein, prison service was remodeled to correctional services. This paved way to a new structures that provide conducive atmosphere for inmates to acquire skills and be self-reliant.
Before the coming of the Nigerian Correctional Service Act 2019, the treatment of offenders was formally funded. But when it came, inmates are to be kept, one, in a safe, secured, and humane environment. That means they have to be treated as human beings. In this Correctional Service Act came a lot of with goodies.
Experts believe that enhancing access to justice, exercise of prerogative mercy, paying fines of inmates to gain freedom will go a long way to better the life of inmates, and when released from correctional centers, will go back to society as law-abiding citizens.
The conversation continues, but before then, let's take this update from Nigeria Center for Disease Control, COVID-19 update. The latest report by NCDC shows that Nigeria has 241 new confirmed cases of COVID-19. A breakdown of the figure shows that Lagos has 142 cases, Oyo 15, FCT 13, Kano 12, Delta 10, Kaduna and Rivers 9, Borno 8, Jigawa 4, while Gombe and Plateau states have 3 cases each. Osun and Bauchi have 1 case each. This brings the total number of cases to 10,819, with 3,239 discharged and 314 deaths recorded. That's the update. And back to the program. Let me stay on with Honorable Farouk. There's what we call flow of governance. We go for elections, we solicit for votes through political party platforms, and at the end of it, we are sworn into office, governance begin. It is expected that as much as we are taking governance along the process through party manifestos or party vision or mission, it's supposed to be a seamless thing. Assessing the 5 years of this dispensation, what's the flow like? Federal, state, local government, as much as we don't have APC all through, PDP all through. What's your assessment?
Well, the truth of the matter is there is no much flow together. Only in the field of agriculture. That's the only area that I think there is flow, there is a lot of synergy. Because you have like one national fertilizer committee, Presidential Fertilizer Initiative Committee, headed by Jigawa State Governor. You also have one of the rice, headed by Kebbi State Governor. So in that aspect, you find flow, like in terms of fertilizer. It's virtually everywhere now. You know, I can also proudly say we've just inaugurated one in Jigawa State, one fertilizer blending plant, which before this government came, there was none there, and across the country. So you find that kind of flow, like the Ankoboro scheme. So that's the flow between the state and the federal. But the other aspects, really, there are no much flows because the states do their bit in terms of infrastructure, in terms of other things. So in terms, as I said, in terms of flow, really in area of agriculture, that's where I think the government across board, PDP, APC or whatever, they are going together. And I hope this will give us an opportunity now to flow everything together like the COVID now. The COVID seemed to be a national...
So what do you make of the core plank of this administration on the flow? Security, economy and corruption, anti-corruption.
You see, my brother Itaenan said something that a lot of people think government is just federal, while government is also state. I mean, state governments are also government. People tend to look at the president, the federal government, forgetting about the state. This is what the government is trying to do. Look at the Executive Order 10 that was signed. It's all in trying to keep the flow together, to ensure that the country moves in one direction. I mean, in some states, you find Speaker of a State Assembly sitting on a floor while the governor sits on a chair. Or the way they defer to them. In Abuja, the Speaker does not defer to the President. The Senate President does not defer, but there is mutual respect. So the President is trying to ensure this kind of synergy and flow to ensure the state legislature and the judiciary have their independence, financial independence, in such a way that, look, there will be uniformity in the country. So I hope these kind of things will be part of the things to keep the country together, to flow in all aspects of governance.
Okay. Senator Tana, Jide, please, I'll come to you. There's a tweet here that Senator Tana needs to address before I come to you, Jide. And the tweet specifically coming from Abubakar. I'll read the three of them, then you respond to them quickly. Abubakar says, in this administration that marks 5 years, we achieved a lot, especially in fighting against corruption, insecurity, infrastructure, and so many more. At Mubarak says, why does your government use to borrow, well, the sentence flows somehow, used to borrow huge amounts of money for these countries, so can't you look ahead for the next generation? The next tweet comes from at Ibeto. PMB is a total blessing to Nigeria. He is only Nigeria's president that had developed the Southeast infrastructurally and otherwise. Long live PMB. The last in this series comes from at Idris, talking about feeding ourselves. Many Nigerians are ready to farm, but these loans is not getting to the grassroots farmers. How do you react to this?
Very much, and let me thank all of them. On the borrowing, that why do we borrow? You would only quarrel with the presidents and with this government if they are not telling you or showing you what they are borrowing for. That is why to borrow. Lay before the National Assembly the request for borrowing. And that request for borrowing must state the project, how much you are going to apply for each project, where it is located, what is the interest rate, where are you borrowing from, what is the tenor, what is the moratorium, what period are you going to repay, what is the source of repayments. Now, that is the essence of borrowing and is everywhere. And in all this, the National Assembly is satisfied. And for those that were borrowing for the state government in the House of Assembly are satisfied. So in all this, you can see what we are doing. Now, again, we would not have borrowed if it was not necessary to set some of these infrastructures in place. We could not stay as if we were in the dark age, living and abandoning railways, when the best and the easiest way of transporting petroleum products and all things, and even human beings is through the rail. We cannot stop borrowing if we did not have to consider conclude the Mambila project. We could not stop borrowing if we could not afford not to borrow if we did not have to complete all the power projects. Now to the agriculture. Now what the gentleman says is that he has not been able to get loans. What we are doing now on agriculture, particularly our office in the Niger Delta, work and all over the country, working with financing institutions and NISAL. There is a program which the president has initiated and is getting a bigger traction now and is urgent now. It is called Farm Rescue. We get to a farm, we will work with the river basin authorities, get the lands that are not being cultivated, cultivate the lands. But to make sure that there is emergency food, we go to farms that are existing. We see you used to have farm for 10 birds, for 10,000 birds. You only have about 1,000. Well, can we assist you to restock the 1,000 birds so that we don't need to import? Instead of importing that will damage and further weaken our currency, we give you a facility to restock up to 10,000 birds. You have all palm plantation, and you may not have funds to harvest all, or to weed, or to prune. We give you funds to get all this done and then expand so that we can immediately get oil from there. We come and that you see that there is a big farm that is almost abandoned with cassava. We come, get you improved variety of cassava, use modern methods and machineries to clear the land for you to farm. Right now, we are working with the National Agricultural Lands Authority. We are working with the Agricultural Seed Council. We are working with other institutions that produce inputs for farms to be able, to get farming everywhere. This is going on very, very successfully in the Niger Delta, I mean in the north. Like my brother and friend Farouk Adamu, he is a big farmer and his state is up on it. But if you come to the Niger Delta, if you come to the southeast and a lot of the southwest, you won't find it. This is the concentration now because we have the best. We have the advantage of the Atlantic Ocean. We have the advantage of the streams. We have the advantage of the streams and the estuaries. We have water everywhere, but they're not planting. So what we're doing now is to get the entirety of the Cross River from the Congola end down to Taraba, down to Cross River, down to the Atlantic Ocean. Both sides of it, we are going to plant rice there. And we want those who own the land, those who are on both sides of Cross River, Ebonyi, and all this side, come in. The institutions, NISAL, and are providing facilities through the Ministry of Agriculture, through our office, and other institutions for people to plant food. So to plant so that we won't have food scarcity. We're doing the same in Bayelsa, in rivers, through the Niger Delta Basin, through the Benin-Owena Basin, through the Anambra Imo River, Imo Basin, and through the Cross River Basin. We're working on this to make sure that there is funding, there is seedlings, there is input, there is the machines to plow the ground and to plow the soil for you. President Buhari says there is no money to import food, so everybody return to the farm. And so every institution, even those that were inactive, they have been activated. They have been reinstalled. I mean, they have been re-energized. These funding institutions are strategic institutions. And there are a lot of... we are also using the different universities as consultants, as consulting institutions, so that they will be as sponsors of these farms that are owned by river basins and so on. So in the next 2 months, you will see more food than we need. We're even going so much into livestock, activating the local goat of the southern Nigeria, and improving on the crossbreeding the goats of the northern Nigeria with southern Nigeria, having a crossbreed of species, and the one that will make the goat yield, have more children. We're working more on piggery because of the needs of the... And if you go, I like citing the example of Cross River State. I'm sorry, I like citing the example of Cross River State. If you go to Cross River State and see where they have a 24,000 a day processing capacity for chicken, and all this will need a lot of chicken to be produced by many people because there is a processing facility there. The NISAL is also working on establishing the same in Akwa Ibom and establishing in every state that has potential for producing these birds. The same goes for fishing. We're embarking on what we call block fishing, where you block a part of a stream and then stock fish in a particular area so that it doesn't go this way, it doesn't go this way. In all the farms that we are taking...
Only there for now, we'll come back to you. Jide, key to assessing any administration is the rule of law and separation of powers. What's your assessment thus far?
Well, in terms of rule of law, the president has done his level best. It's in tandem with keeping with the rule of law, separation of powers, checks and balances, that the president actually signed the executive order 10 last week. And it was an issue I engaged in my column in The Punch last week, praising and appreciating the president for giving financial autonomy to states, judiciary, and state legislature. When you look at issue, there are three key indices of rule of law. First is constitutionalism, that's supremacy of the law. The second is equality before the law. And the third is fundamental human rights. On these three counts, you will see that the president, as much as possible, has tried to go by the dictates of the Constitution of Nigeria. He has done so much in terms of ensuring that every Nigerian is deemed equal in terms of treatment. Of course, you cannot say there will be no skirmishes or that there are no issues or there are no frictions among the three arms of government and the three tiers of government. But these issues are resolved constitutionally through the court system. There have been several cases that have been taken, federal government has been taken to court by the state government, and state government has taken another state government to court, which is in the light of the spirit of the rule of law. If you don't go by rule of law, you go by rule of, you are going by self-help. And what we have seen in the last 5 years of this administration is the resort to dialogue, and if dialogue fails, then you go to court to get redress. And this has been largely promoted. Of course, we should not forget the fact that Nigerian Human Rights Commission has also been strengthened under this administration to deliver more on its core mandate of promotion and defending of human rights of Nigeria. And it is under this administration I have seen a civilian leadership of human rights, Nigerian Human Rights Commission, are actually asking the military authorities to hand over some of his soldiers who have committed human rights abuses for prosecution. And this was adhered to. In terms of fair hearing, we know a lot of when people say that government is committing human rights abuses or that Nigerian soldiers are committing human rights abuses. These issues have been largely investigated, and whoever has been found culpable, more or less, have been largely brought to book. But you cannot run a government without, breaches here and there. But as somebody has said, the true rule in determining to embrace or reject a thing is not whether it has any evil in it, but whether it has more evil than good. Yes, the administration can do more in terms of rule of law, in terms of promotion of human rights, in terms of promoting separation of powers and checks and balances. But it's a work in progress. And the president was the first to admit that he was a former dictator and is a converted Democrat. And he tries to live by democratic tenets and principles. He has refused to, if you look at the nature and character of our politics, the president many a time have not descended into the fray. Even during the last 8th National Assembly, where some of the leadership were accused to have frosty relationship with the president and try to stall the pace of governance, the president has still tolerated largely the different types of government. And where institutions of government, coercive forces of government like the DSS, the Nigerian Army, or the Nigerian police have overreached themselves or caused human rights abuses, some of them have been brought to book. And this is in tandem with human rights, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Okay,
even the
Jide,
rights of persons with disabilities.
Before I let you go, Jide, before I let you go, if you can hear me, before I let you go, what word of advice do you have for Nigerians moving forward as this administration evolves towards attaining its vision?
Well, many a time we accuse the leadership that leadership is the problem of Nigeria, but I have taken a slightly different approach to say our problem is both leadership and followership, because it lies within the ambience of the followership to demand accountability and transparency in governance. And many of us, rather than doing that, we have constituted ourselves into a cog in the wheel of progress. So what I would advise is attitudinal change, that a tree does not make a forest. Yes, we are assessing 5 years of President Buhari's administration, but that's not to say it's a work in progress. The president can't get it right on all counts, and he's working it out to improve the living standard of Nigeria. But we must join hands with government to deliver more dividends of democracy. Look at the issue of pipeline vandalism. Look at the issue of oil theft. Why should Nigerians engage in oil theft? Why should we engage in pipeline vandalism, leading to loss of huge revenue that should have accrued to the cost of government? Those who are still engaging in corrupt practices here and there are undermining the development and progress of Nigeria. And I will appeal to them to change and turn a new leaf. We all have a role to play as citizens, as patriots, as compatriots. We all have a role to play in the emancipation of Nigeria. And that will be my own words of advice, that all of us, all hands must be on deck to improve governance in Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Jide Ojo, for making time to be on Tuesday Live tonight.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me, and please stay safe.
Thank you. I'm back in the studio. We'll take this report from Lagos. When we return, we'll take our concluding thoughts from Honorable Farouk and Senator Itanan.
Lagos State, under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, has witnessed an array of developmental projects which cut across different sectors of the economy and has impacted positively on the lives of the people. The land border closure has improved security and encouraged local production.
Very concerned that we reduce wastage to the minimum, and we want farmers to have value for their efforts.
The situation in the southwest is certainly better now than it was earlier this year, sometime earlier this year, when cases of kidnappings and killings were quite rife.
Landmark seizures by the Nigerian Customs Service has increased revenue generation into the nation's coffers.
The command has once again set up another record by meeting and surpassing its 2019 annual revenue target of 372 billion naira.
In the area of infrastructure, the Lagos-Ibadan Railway Project, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway Reconstruction, and other road projects are testament.
The government has also provided funding, special funding for some major roads, of which Lagos-Ibadan is one.
Let's encourage the government and support them so that they can deliver on the path they have taken, ensuring that rail services improve in Nigeria.
The aviation sector also received a remarkable upgrade with the installation of the CAT 3 instrument landing system.
NAMA decided in 2018 to install 2 for starters, because they are not cheap, in Abuja and Lagos.
We were aware of the debt refinancing, where our debt has been repossessed by bond, which has dropped from 16 to 18% to about 10 to 12%. This is a very good development in economic policy of the president.
Lagos is the hub of entertainment in the country, with its capacity to boost the GDP and create thousands of jobs for the teeming youth. The present administration has created an enabling environment and protected the industry from pirates.
Apparently, a lot has been done by government, this administration in particular, to support the arts, and will continue to do so.
We have some of the best musicians in the world. We have some of the best actors and directors and producers you can find anywhere. We have some of the best literary minds you can find it. This is one area where the Nigerian nation has comparative advantage.
With several other projects in the pipeline, experts call for improvement in the maintenance culture to sustain the tempo of development.
That report sustains the conversation on the 5 years of administration of President Buhari. Well, Honorable Farouk, as much as time has allowed us, we have tried to go around the entire coast to assess all the issues. But 7 people demands a lot of expectation. Nigerians expect so much, and the speed at which they expect. I know sometimes the president said, I know so much expected of me, but just give me time. I will try my best. What advice do you have for Nigerians regarding giving some time and let the pace as we progress?
Well, to be fair to Nigerians, I think Nigerians are giving us time. They are. But the advice is to give us more time. Because as said from the beginning, sincerity of purpose. We have in the president, who in all honesty, I cross my heart, that there is nothing he does intentionally to hurt the system. So, and I'm sure that's why God in his infinite mercy has come to help this country, that we will come to the brink and God will just intervene. So that sincerity of purpose from the leader, who has the best of intentions, I want Nigerians to continue to pray for all of us, to continue to pray for those in authority across party line, to continue to pray to our leaders. May God make them to be better, because when they are better, we will be better citizens as well. So let's continue to be patient. Let's continue also to check the government. Whatever the government that is doing that is not right, let's scream, let's shout, so that there will be corrections. Let the opposition see this government as their government as well. That look, opposition, government, party in power, we are all on the same. Let the opposition continue to oppose. Yeah, that's fine. That's part of their work. And let the government in power continue to do the right thing. Together, we continue to have one great country called Nigeria.
What do you make of bipartisanship at the national, at the legislature?
Yeah, I think it's...
Is it doing well?
No, it's doing very well.
Compared to when we took off in 1999?
No. Honestly, it's doing very well. And I commend my colleagues from the PDP, the minority leader in the Senate. He's doing very well, and kudos to him. And that's okay. I mean, to oppose is part of them. And there is nothing that came to them that they oppose deliberately or intentionally. So I think the bipartisan posture of the National Assembly is doing very well, and I think it's good for the country, good for democracy.
Okay. Senator Tanang, last year, June 12th was legally instituted in Nigeria as Democracy Day, and moving forward, this government has done 1 year in its second term and 3 more years left. We are heading forward. What hope for Nigeria? How should Nigeria view it and follow on?
I didn't hear the last word.
Follow on with the progress.
The 1 year into the second term has been very appreciated, very appreciable, and very challenging. Let me say one thing that Mr. President is very characteristic. He is President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Immediately after the elections in 2015, after inauguration, he said that politics is over, governance is now. So that in every action the President takes, he will not consider whether it is PDP or it is APC. In every attention he wants to give to every state, it does not matter whether the government or the governor is ruled by APC or PDP. He sees every state government as every state governor as governor of a state and not governor of PDP or APC. He sees every citizen as citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, irrespective of the political party. Even when the governor of that state deliberately and consciously oversteps, overboards, he looks not at the action of the governor alone, but he still looks at the governor and treats him very well. But he would lift the veil and see the citizens of that state as citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to whom he owes responsibility. I thank and commend this attribute of President Buhari. Now, on what we're doing in the second term, we're doing very well. Let us appreciate that some countries under this COVID-19 are very terribly challenged. But President Buhari, in early enough, set up a presidential task force, gave it direction, and receives minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day briefings and gives directions. And it doesn't matter the states, he gives directions and makes sure. Otherwise, if we did not have good leadership, we would have been in a bad situation. Look at countries that perhaps their leaders took things for granted. You know, those countries are now counting no more cops. They're no counting names. They are now counting numbers. Now take what we are doing now in the second term, one, we've been able to, Mr. President has maintained a very good relationship with the National Assembly. And Mr. President, as leader of the party, took steps to make sure that peacefully leadership that is amiable emerged according to the independent action of the legislature. And we are having so much peace. Every request we make, if they deem it fit, they approve. If they do not deem it fit, they draw attention of the president. Now, we're not having that heat which ordinarily ought to have been. We're also enjoying great...
I'm afraid I have to hold you here. Our time is up for the program. It was nice having you on Tuesday Live tonight. Farouk, it was nice having you on the program.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, viewers.
That's it on Tuesday Live tonight. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.